Alcohol sucks. I recently got off the sauce, quit alcohol for more than 100 days, and today I'm going to share with you why I stopped drinking, the 5 lessons I learned. You see, most people think that, drinking is just a social thing, or it helps me relax or unwind, or, a few drinks really don't matter. But here's the thing is, if you're a high performer like I am, then you're looking for every edge you can get. And unfortunately, alcohol doesn't give us that. So my name is Uriel Kame. I'm a New York Times bestselling author, CEO of Healthpreneur, and for the past 20 years, I've been building 7- and 8-figure businesses. I'm also a former professional athlete and a health expert myself. So when it comes to living a clean, healthy life, this is priority number 1 for me. So today I'm going to share with you why I stopped drinking, the 5 lessons I learned. So before we dive into this, I just want to let you know that when I say I stopped drinking, I didn't really drink that much to begin with. I don't drink daily. When I'm talking about drinking, I'm talking about like 1 to 2 drinks a week. So for most people, they might think, well, that's not a big deal. But here's the thing is when you understand, when you change the way you look at how you show up in the world, you look at your decisions and priorities a little bit differently. So ultimately, I realized that alcohol was a low drag energy vampire on my body. It didn't make me feel good. It kind of fogged up my mind. And I'm thinking to myself, why am I even doing this in the first place? So let me share 5 important lessons that I've learned over the past 100 and some odd days that hopefully can help you as well. So number 1 is that my sleep improved dramatically. I think we all know that alcohol is a depressant. So if you have a lot of alcohol and you fall asleep, you actually don't really sleep. You're pretty much like knocked unconscious. And it disrupts REM sleep. It disrupts your HRV. So when I got rid of the alcohol, I noticed an improvement in my sleep quality. Now, I have asthma. I had really bad asthma as a kid. And one of the things that I noticed when I would drink, and I'm talking about like 1 drink, is my breathing would be more labored. So if I'd go to bed, I would have a tougher time breathing. Not like I'm gasping for air, but just these tiny little differences. And I thought to myself, what's the point? The other thing too is that when I woke up in the morning, I didn't feel groggy. So again, if I had a glass of wine or a drink, again, not to excess, but just 1, I would wake up the next morning not feeling that great. And there's tiny little nuances, right? It's almost like if you sleep with a little guy, like we have a 6-year-old, we have 4 kids, one of them 6. I love sleeping with him in our bed, but the challenge is that if I don't sleep well because he's kicking me and stuff, the next morning you get up, you're like, oh my God, like what just happened over the past, 6 to 8 hours? So it's very similar with alcohol. I just woke up in the morning feeling groggy and terrible. When I got off the alcohol and I stopped drinking it super clean, I noticed I was fresher in the morning. I was sleeping better throughout the evening. And that was a big, big plus because we know that we spend 1/3 of our lives sleeping. So if the quality of our sleep is improved, then we can simply be sharper when we wake up. We can feel more focused. We can get into our work. We can go through our days with a lot more laser-like precision. Number 2, speaking of laser-like precision, the second big lesson was my brain just got sharper. So instead of waking up feeling foggy and groggy, I would wake up feeling focused and clear. And that is obviously very important because I really pride myself on being someone who's productive and efficient and getting work done and accomplishing things. So I felt almost better about myself because I was able to show up and I was able to get into the work and do my best work, be more creative, be sharper, as opposed to using I had a drink last night as an excuse to slow me down. So again, if you're somebody like myself who prides yourself on being a creator, someone who's high performing, who wants to be at the top of your game, brain mental clarity, just so much better after getting off the sauce. Number 3, and really where I want to take this conversation is less about the health benefits. We all know the health benefits of not drinking. There's 0 benefit to drinking alcohol from a health perspective. And so what I started to recognize was I don't give a shit what other people think of me or what they say. So instead of going out with friends, which by the way, I don't do a huge amount of, I've got 4 kids. I live a very quiet life. I don't need to go through all that stuff, at this point in my life. But even when I would get together with clients or have, partake in different events, I wouldn't really like get into drinks. And although people might say, well, aren't you drinking? For me, the response was, well, I just reminded myself and them that bigger goals require bigger standards. And I'm just like, hey man, it's just, it's nothing against you. It's just like for where I want to go, this is not the level of activity or behavior that's going to help me get there. So I'm going to just enjoy my water, my sparkling water, whatever it is. And instead of falling into the peer pressure, not that it was like, hey man, have a drink, have a shot, But it was simply saying like, hey man, I just don't do that. Like, it's not a priority for me. What is a priority for me? Like, I would just tell people, I'm like, listen, as much as I appreciate, the drink, I actually value getting up early and feeling better tomorrow morning than having a drink in this moment. But listen, I'm happy to hang out with you guys and I'll have a sparkling water, right? It's all good. And again, there's no judgment. I'm not judging people if they want to drink. Because listen, I've been through moments in my life, in my 20s, where I drank enough. Like when you're in school and you have those moments. I remember I was in Acapulco on spring break once, and I remember leaving a nightclub and I was walking down the street in my underwear. And I don't know how that happened. Okay. So there definitely, I'm not like here to say I'm better than anyone else. It's just when you go through life and you experience things, you start to recognize, is this really that important to me at this stage of my life? Not so much. So for me, it was really about setting a new standard socially for myself and hopefully getting other people to think about it a little bit differently. Because I do have conversations with quite a few people who, whether they're in an entrepreneurial or corporate setting, they feel like they're pressured into, you go for dinner with clients or colleagues and everyone's having drinks and you're like the one person who's left out. But if you can just step back from that and just remind yourself, hold on. Like, I want to set a new standard for myself. And even those people might be drinking, be super successful or be aspirational in terms of what you want to achieve. It doesn't necessarily mean you have to model what it is that they do, especially when you know that the behavior, i.e. drinking, is just ruining your body in some way, shape, or form. Hey, we'll get back to the video in just a moment, but if you're enjoying this content, hit that subscribe button below. It will help me sleep a lot better at night. But more importantly for you, it'll help you build your dream a lot faster. So go ahead, subscribe, and we'll get back to the show. So the fourth lesson that I learned was I got real about what I was trying to numb. Alcohol is a numbing agent. It's a depressant, right? So it obviously reduces inhibition. It makes us just kind of forget about the stresses of life. And that's typically why people drink, right? When someone drinks excessively, instantaneously, I know they have a problem in their life somewhere. Very much the same with weed, right? Any kind of vice, it doesn't matter what it is. It's food, it's alcohol, it's drugs, it's anything. These are all mechanisms of escape, and we're using them to avoid dealing with stuff that we don't want to deal with. So if the kids were crazy and at the end of a long day, I'd be like, you know what, today's been a crazy day, I'm just going to have a drink. Again, I'm like, instead of having the drink, why don't I just step back for a second and recognize why I feel like I have to have the drink? Okay, cool. So the kids were crazy, and this has obviously raised some level of anxiety or stress in my body. Now, is the alcohol the solution, or is it a Band-Aid? Because shortcuts are never going to be the solutions. So I could, we can drink forever we want. Like, and there's this whole kind of cultural stereotype, right? You get home at the end of a long day, you pour yourself a drink. It's so funny. But like, imagine if we were indoctrinated over the last several decades to be like, you have a long day, you get home at the end, instead of pouring yourself a drink, you just sit down and meditate. Can you imagine that? That would be a very different conversation that would be happening right now. Again, I'm not perfect. Trust me, I've given into those moments where it's like, man, I just want to have a margarita and chill. Or tonight, I just want to have a glass of wine. It's been a really busy or stressful or whatever it is type of day. But again, it's like, am I recognizing what I'm trying to numb? And could I just deal with that as opposed to seeking out this little Band-Aid short-term fix? Another thing that I noticed for myself is that I used occasional drinking as a way to overcome loneliness. So if I felt lonely by myself, I'd have a drink. It's like, well, why don't I just find a way to, if the loneliness is the issue, why don't I find a way to connect with someone? So could I send someone a message? Could I just jump on Zoom or have a quick call with someone that's important in my life? Could I find a way to connect? So kind of getting to the deeper issue of like why I'm using this vice as opposed to dealing with the issue to begin with. Because just because like we mask the issue with alcohol or anything else, it doesn't mean that it goes away, right? It goes away temporarily, but we're not really solving it. So again, for me, it was like alcohol was the shortcut, but not the fix. And I'm always trying to look at like, how do we just get to the core of the issue? Because if we don't, then we're going to lead a life of quiet desperation. We're going to use all these vices and these Band-Aids to mask what's really going on beneath the surface. And the fifth lesson I learned, and one of the biggest reasons why I decided to give up drinking, was I asked myself a simple question. Is this the example I want to set for my kids? I'm a huge proponent of leading by example because I understand that kids don't listen to anything you say. They model how you live. So am I perfect? No. Do I swear in front of my kids? 100%. I know that I've fucked up my kids in some way, shape, or form because of language like that, as an example. And I also know that I've done a lot of great things for my kids. So to the best of my ability, I'm asking myself, where, as much as I can, where can I be a better example? So if my kids see me drinking, that's not really what I want them to do. And I understand they're going to go through their own journey and they're going to have those moments where they might be sloshed out of their mind and they're going to learn from life, right? Life experience teaches, words can only warn. But we also know that if kids grow up in a household where their parents drink or their parents smoke or their parents do anything, the likelihood of those kids adopting those behaviors is very, very high. So I remember we had family friends growing up and the parents drank to like pass out. Like, I don't even know why my parents were like friends with these people, you know, love them to death, whatever. But at the time I'm like, you're literally falling asleep at the table. And their kids are observing this, right? Fast forward a decade or two, guess what? Their kids model similar behaviors. It's not the occasional drink, it's an entire bottle to pass out. And I think it's very unfortunate. So I asked myself, is this the example I want to set for my kids? And honestly, I try to do this with everything. I really pride myself on being fit and healthy. I'm 45 years old as of this video, and I play soccer for 2 to 3 hours with my kids. And my kids, like my oldest two are like, they're in their mid-teens, are pretty competitive. I pride myself on being able to keep up with them or outpace or outrun them. And so I look at myself in terms of, I'm not perfect. I certainly make decisions food-wise that don't always support my biggest ambitions. But I think I'm always looking at how do I make things a little bit better? If I can model the type of lifestyle that I would love my kids to lead because it's healthy, I'm all for that, right? So we don't have a phone at the table. We are present with our kids. We eat, we talk. Cool. That's a great example, I think, for our kids to adopt as they get older. You know, we are active. We're walking all the time. I'm working out. I'm working out with my kids. I'm creating these memories and these habits that hopefully they will adopt as they get older. They see me work. They see that I love to do this work. And so I want them to associate pleasure and joy and contribution and fulfillment with work that they do. So I'm always trying to look at, am I the change that I want to see in my kids? And for me to be around my kids and be wasted or passed out or like, you know, getting ridiculous because you've had too many drinks is in no way, shape, or form the type of example that I want to set. Because I think we all know we've had some influence in our life, whether it's a parent or, you know, family member who's had those moments like, hey, remember when Uncle so-and-so like literally fell in the pool because he was passed out? Yeah, those are memories that stick with us. And at some level, if that happens over and over again, because we are tribal beings, we feel that because that's part of our lineage, that's how we are, unless you're very, very aware and willing to step out of that. So those are the 5 big lessons I've learned in giving up alcohol over the past 100 and so days. So just to wrap up here, like, will I keep this going? Am I going to be alcohol free for the rest of my life? Probably not. But again, I'm just very aware of the choices that I'm making. And I do think it's, you know, what's interesting about this was not like a conscious decision to say like, okay, for the next 100 days, I'm going to give up alcohol. It's just, I stopped drinking. Like, it wasn't even a thought. And so am I going to have the occasional drink at some point in my life? Most likely, right? I'm not going to deprive myself of, you know, the moments where maybe I feel like having a drink. But what I'm trying to share in this video is really hopefully giving you a better understanding of the choices that I made with respect to the example that I want to set, understanding that I am a high performance individual and I want to fuel my body with the best possible fuel as opposed to numbing things out. Because to be honest, if you're a business owner, life can be very stressful. Like, you're going to have moments where like you sleep like shit. There's going to be a tremendous amount of stress that comes at you, and pressure can break a lot of people. And it's also a privilege. So I think if you can learn to adapt and roll with the punches and take on a lot of this pressure without having to resort to vices that are essentially saying, I don't want to deal with this now. Let me just drink myself numb so I can forget about this for a few hours, right? But if we can get better at actually dealing with the situation, it's like having a hard conversation. I think we're going to be a lot better off in life. We're going to be able to tackle our demons. We're going to be able to solve problems. and we're going to be able to live a better quality of life, not just from a health perspective, but achieving our goals. So anyways, just wanted to share this little kind of like anecdotal experience with you. Hopefully it's useful. If it is, I'd love to know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you haven't done so already, remember to subscribe to this channel. I know that today was a little bit of a different video. Typically, I'm here to help you grow your business, help you become more successful, improve your mindset. But obviously, how you fuel yourself is a big part of that. In the next couple of minutes, I'm going to show you exactly how I help this IBS specialist take her business from making $7K per month to more than $30,000 per month with some very small tweaks. I think you're going to enjoy this.